Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As the front door shut with resounding force, the tranquil atmosphere in the suburban Clearwater residence shattered in an instant. Each stride down the hallway felt like a countdown towards an impending storm, marked by the harsh reverberation of boots on the floor. A thunderous cry ripped through the air, a roar that echoed all too frequently within these walls lately. "This family's honor is not to be tarnished by your aberrant behavior." In the heart of the home, amid the gallery of idyllic family portraits, a young man, Amir, aged 24, stood visibly rattled. His father's tirade shook him deeply. On the nearby floral-patterned couch, his mother wept silently, her fragile fingers struggling to maintain a grip on her emotions and her makeshift tissue.
"Our sacrifices. This is who I am."
His father's face reddened, veins bulging at his temples.
"Who you are. You're confused, that's what you are. And I won't have this sickness under my roof."
The ultimatum came swiftly. Conform or leave. The weight of 24 years of conditional love crumbled around Amir as he packed his belongings into a single suitcase, his fingers mechanically folding his plain button-downs and straight-leg jeans. Rain pattered against the windshield as Amir drove across the city, streetlights blurring through his tears. There was only one place he could think to go: his older sister Nadia's apartment. They'd always been close, despite the 5-year age gap, but they'd drifted apart since she'd moved out 6 years ago, their parents' disapproval of her liberal lifestyle, creating an invisible barrier. Nadia's apartment building stood tall against the night sky, modern and sleek compared to their parents' traditional home. Amir sat in the car for 20 minutes, summoning the courage to call her. When he finally did, she answered on the second ring. "Amir? Everything okay? It's almost midnight." His voice caught in his throat. "They kicked me out." Silence hung between them for a long moment. Then, "Come upstairs. Apartment 407. Nadia opened the door before he could knock, her long blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing oversized sweatpants and a university hoodie. One look at her younger brother's face, and she pulled him into a fierce hug. "What happened?" she asked, guiding him to her couch. The story spilled out in broken sentences: the discovered browser history, the accusations, the ultimatum. Nadia listened without interruption, her expression shifting from concern to anger to resolve.
"You'll stay here,"
she said when he finished.
"For as long as you need."
The guest room was small but comfortable, decorated in peaceful blues and grays. Amir collapsed onto the bed, emotional exhaustion pulling him into a dreamless sleep. Days turned into weeks. Amir found a job at a local bookstore, contributing to expenses despite Nadia's protests. They fell into a comfortable routine, sharing meals and rediscovering their bond. But Amir kept parts of himself hidden, afraid that revealing too much might cost him this final sanctuary. One evening, nearly 2 months after moving in, Amir returned early from his shift. The apartment was quiet, Nadia still at her graphic design job. Without the distraction of conversation or television, the weight of his secrets pressed down on him. Almost unconsciously, his feet carried him to Nadia's bedroom door. He hesitated, hand on the knob, before pushing it open. Her room exploded with color compared to the rest of the apartment. Vibrant art on the walls, bohemian-patterned bedding, and a closet door left slightly ajar. The closet drew him like a magnet. Inside hung rows of beautiful clothes, Silky blouses, flowing skirts, dresses in every color imaginable. His fingers traced the fabric of a turquoise silk blouse, its material cool against his skin. Before he could stop himself, he held the blouse against his chest, turning to face the full-length mirror on Nadia's closet door. The color complemented his olive skin, made his brown eyes seem deeper. Something inside him ached with longing. So absorbed was he in the moment that he didn't hear the apartment door open, didn't register Nadia's presence until she appeared in the doorway behind him, her reflection joining his in the mirror. Amir dropped the blouse as if burned, shame flooding his face. "I'm sorry," he stammered, backing away. "I shouldn't have. I was just—" "Amir," Nadia said softly, crossing the room to pick up the fallen blouse. "It's okay." He couldn't meet her eyes. "I'll get my things. I understand if you want me to leave." "Leave?" Confusion colored her voice. "Why would I want that?" "Because I'm—" The words stuck in his throat. Nadia held the turquoise blouse out to him. "Because you're interested in how silk feels against your skin? Because you're curious about clothes designed for women? Because you might be discovering something important about yourself?" The gentleness in her voice broke something open inside him. "Mom and Dad said I was sick, that I was wrong." "You're not sick or wrong," Nadia said firmly, still holding out the blouse. "You're just you, and if part of you wants to explore this, I'm here to help, not judge." Amir looked at the outstretched garment, then at his sister's encouraging face. With trembling fingers, he took the blouse. "I don't even know where to start," he admitted. A slow smile spread across Nadia's face. "Well, that turquoise would look amazing with my black leather skirt. Want to try?" That evening became the first of many explorations. Nadia guided him through the basics of feminine presentation with patience and enthusiasm. The turquoise blouse paired with the leather skirt made Amir feel both vulnerable and powerful in ways he'd never experienced. "You know," Nadia said, watching Amir study his reflection, "if you're interested, I could show you some makeup basics too." The next few hours were filled with laughter and experimentation. Nadia taught him how to apply foundation, how to blend eyeshadow, how mascara could transform his already long lashes. Each new skill felt like uncovering a piece of a puzzle he hadn't known was incomplete. "What should I call you?" Nadia asked as they sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, surrounded by makeup brushes and open palettes. "When you're dressed like this, I mean. Do you have a name you've thought about?" Amir stared at his reflection in the handheld mirror. Blonde hair styled softly around his face. Amber eyeshadow, bringing warmth to his brown eyes. Lips glossed a subtle pink. A name he'd held secret in his heart for years slipped out.
"Rachel,"
he whispered.
"I'd like to be Rachel."
Nadia squeezed his hand. "Nice to meet you, Rachel." In the weeks that followed, Rachel emerged more fully. At first, only in the safety of the apartment, changing back to Amir's clothes before work or errands. Nadia shared her wardrobe freely, but Rachel found herself drawn to softer, more flowing styles than her sister's edgier preferences. "You know," Nadia said one evening, as Rachel sat curled on the couch in one of Nadia's maxi dresses, a flowing garment with a subtle floral pattern. "We should get you some clothes of your own, things that are really your style." Rachel ran her fingers over the soft fabric. "I wouldn't even know what to buy." "That's what big sisters are for," Nadia winked. "Saturday shopping trip?" The mall loomed intimidatingly large that weekend. Rachel had reverted to Amir's clothing, fear winning out over authenticity for the public outing. "We'll start small," Nadia assured her, sensing her anxiety. "Just some basics you can mix and match." The women's department felt like forbidden territory, each step deeper into the displays, increasing Rachel's heart rate. Nadia moved confidently, pulling items and holding them up for consideration. "This would look gorgeous with your coloring," she said, holding up a pale pink A-line dress. Rachel touched the fabric tentatively. "It's beautiful, but I wouldn't have anywhere to wear it." "You could wear it right here at home, just because it makes you happy," Nadia pointed out. "That's reason enough." By the end of their expedition, Rachel had acquired several pieces: the pink dress, 2 white lace tops, a flowing cardigan in a soft pastel blue, and a pair of strappy sandals that Nadia insisted were absolute essentials for summer. That night, in the privacy of her room, Rachel changed into the pink dress. The fabric settled around her body in a way that felt right, like coming home to a place she'd never been before. She twirled experimentally, watching the skirt flare out around her knees. A knock at the door interrupted her moment. "Can I come in?" Nadia called. "Yes," Rachel answered, suddenly shy. Nadia entered, stopping short at the sight of her sibling. "Oh, Rachel," she breathed. "You look beautiful." "Really?" Rachel smoothed the fabric self-consciously. "Really." Nadia crossed to her vanity and returned with a hairbrush and a handful of pins. "May I?" With gentle strokes, Nadia brushed Rachel's blonde hair, which had grown out over the months since leaving their parents' home. She twisted sections away from Rachel's face, securing them with pins, creating a feminine style that framed her features. "There," Nadia said, stepping back. "Take a look." The person in the mirror looked more like the self Rachel had always imagined. Soft, feminine, authentic. Tears welled in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything."
You don't need to thank me for loving you exactly as you are,
Nadia replied, her own eyes shimmering. "That's what family is supposed to do." As spring turned to summer, Rachel bloomed. She grew more confident in her identity, wearing her feminine clothes around the apartment continuously. Her blonde hair grew longer, no longer requiring Nadia's styling tricks to appear feminine. She practiced her makeup skills until she could create looks that enhanced her natural features without appearing overdone. Work remained a challenge. She still presented as Amir there, the fear of losing her job or facing discrimination too strong. But the bookstore became less fulfilling as the disparity between her authentic self and her work persona widened. "Have you thought about looking for a new job?" Nadia asked one evening over dinner. "Somewhere you could be Rachel full-time?" Rachel pushed her food around her plate. "I've thought about it, but most places want ID, and all my documents have my dead name." "There are ways to update those," Nadia pointed out gently. "Legal name changes, gender marker updates. It takes time, but it's possible." The idea took root. Rachel began researching the process, learning about the steps toward legal recognition of her identity. With Nadia's encouragement, she also began looking into resources for medical transition, hormone therapy, voice training, and other supports that might help align her external appearance with her internal sense of self. Each step forward brought challenges. Some days, dysphoria struck hard, making Rachel question whether she was strong enough for this journey. On those days, Nadia became her anchor, reminding her that authenticity was worth fighting for. "Our parents might never understand," Nadia admitted during one particularly difficult evening, but that doesn't mean you should hide who you are. I miss them, Rachel confessed, wrapped in her pastel blue cardigan-like armor. Despite everything, I miss them. Nadia was quiet for a long moment.
Maybe it's time to tell them, not to get their approval, but to give them the chance to know their daughter.
The suggestion terrified Rachel. What if they reject me again? Then we'll handle it together, Nadia promised. But what if they surprise us? The idea percolated for weeks. Rachel practiced what she might say, how she would explain the journey she'd been on. Nadia offered to arrange the meeting on neutral ground, a restaurant or park, but Rachel felt drawn to their parents' home, to the place that had been both nurture and wound. I want them to see me as I truly am, she explained. No hiding, no pretending. For the occasion, Nadia helped Rachel select a special outfit, an emerald green dress that brought out the warmth in her brown eyes and complemented her blonde hair, now falling past her shoulders in gentle waves. You look radiant, Nadia assured her as they pulled up to their parents' house. Remember, no matter what happens in there, you are loved and worthy. Their mother answered the door, her expression shifting from polite welcome to confused shock as she registered the woman standing beside her daughter. Recognition dawned slowly in her eyes. Amir? She whispered. Hi, Mom, Rachel said, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. Actually, I go by Rachel now. Their father appeared in the hallway behind their mother, his face hardening as he took in the scene.
What is this?
He demanded. May we come in? Nadia asked, her hand supportive at Rachel's back. We'd like to talk. The living room felt smaller than Rachel remembered, or perhaps it was just the tension filling every corner. She perched on the edge of the sofa, the emerald fabric of her dress pooling around her knees.
This is who I am,
Rachel began, meeting her father's stern gaze directly. I've always been Rachel, even when I was trying to be the son you wanted. I just didn't have the words for it then. Her mother's hands twisted in her lap. Is this because of something we did? Did we fail you somehow? No, Mom, Rachel said gently. This isn't about failure or blame. It's about me finally having the courage to live authentically.
Authentically?
Her father scoffed.
There's nothing authentic about this costume.
The words stung, but Rachel had anticipated them. These clothes aren't a costume, Dad. They're just clothes that feel right to me. The costume was pretending to be someone I'm not for 24 years. Nadia leaned forward. Rachel is still the same person you raised. Intelligent, kind, thoughtful. The only difference is that now she's also honest about who she is. Their father stood abruptly.
I need some air.
He strode from the room, the back door slamming behind him. Their mother remained, tears streaming silently down her face. I don't understand, she admitted. I know, Rachel acknowledged. I don't expect you to understand immediately, but I hope you'll try, because I miss you, Mom. I miss being part of this family. A hesitant hand reached out, touching the fabric of Rachel's dress. Green was always your favorite color as a child, their mother said softly. You would always pick the green crayons first. The simple recognition of this continuity, that Rachel had always been Rachel, even in the smallest preferences, opened a tiny crack in the wall between them. It still is, Rachel confirmed, covering her mother's hand with her own. The conversation continued, halting and difficult. Their father eventually returned, still rigid with disapproval but willing, at least, to listen. No miraculous acceptance occurred that day, but something perhaps more valuable began. A slow, fragile reconstruction of connections severed by fear and misunderstanding. As the sisters drove home, Rachel felt simultaneously drained and lightened. "You were incredible in there," Nadia said, reaching across to squeeze her hand. "So brave." "I couldn't have done it without you," Rachel replied. "You've been my rock through all of this." "That's what sisters are for," Nadia smiled. "Speaking of which, I've been thinking, my lease is up next month. What would you think about us looking for a bigger place together? Somewhere with enough space for both of us to really settle in?" The idea of a fresh start, a home chosen with her authentic self in mind, filled Rachel with unexpected joy. "I'd love that." Over the following months, Rachel's world expanded in ways she'd never imagined possible. She found a job at an independent bookstore with a progressive owner who welcomed her without question. She began hormone therapy, each small physical change bringing her outer appearance more in line with her inner truth. She and Nadia moved into a bright 2-bedroom apartment with bay windows and room for both their distinct styles. Rachel's softer, more traditional aesthetic blending surprisingly well with Nadia's artistic bohemian sensibilities. Their parents remained a work in progress. Their father struggled the most, his deeply ingrained beliefs difficult to reconcile with his child's reality. But small steps emerged. He began using Rachel's name, though he often stumbled. Their mother made more consistent efforts, inviting Rachel and Nadia for dinner every few weeks, asking careful questions about Rachel's life. On a crisp October evening, nearly a year after being forced from her parents' home, Rachel stood in front of her full-length mirror, preparing for another family dinner. Her blonde hair now brushed her shoulders in natural waves, framing a face that had softened with hormones. The emerald green dress, her talisman of courage, hung in her closet, but tonight she'd chosen a simpler outfit, a cream-colored sweater and flowing navy skirt. "Ready?" Nadia asked, appearing in the doorway. Rachel took a deep breath, surveying her reflection one last time. The person looking back at her was no longer hiding, no longer pretending. She was simply Rachel, a woman finding her way forward with dignity and authenticity, surrounded by the kind of love that made space for growth and change. "Ready?" she confirmed, turning away from the mirror toward the future waiting beyond her door. The sisters were greeted with cautious warmth at their parents' home. Their mother embraced them both, lingering a moment longer with Rachel, a wordless acknowledgement of the distance they were trying to bridge. Their father offered a stiff nod, but met Rachel's eyes directly. Progress from his earlier avoidance. Dinner proceeded with careful conversation. Their mother had prepared Rachel's favorite childhood dish, a gesture that brought tears to her eyes. Small connections formed in these moments, threads rewoven in the family fabric that had been so violently torn. "I have news," Rachel announced during dessert, setting down her fork. "I've been accepted into a master's program in library science. I start in January." "That's wonderful," their mother said immediately, genuine pride in her voice. "You always did love books more than anyone I know." Their father cleared his throat. "That's good. A solid career path." From him, even this measured approval felt monumental. Rachel caught Nadia's encouraging smile across the table. "There's something else," Rachel continued, heart racing. "The university requires updated identification for enrollment. I've completed my legal name change. All my documents now say Rachel Nassar." A heavy silence fell. Their father's knuckles whitened around his coffee cup.
"So it's official then,"
he said finally, his voice rough.
"You're really not coming back from this."
Rachel met his gaze steadily. "Dad, there's nothing to come back from. This is who I've always been. The only difference is now the world can see it too." Their mother reached across the table, her hand covering Rachel's. "You seem happier," she observed.
"More at peace."
"I am," Rachel confirmed. "For the first time in my life, I'm not at war with myself." Their father pushed back from the table, but instead of storming out as he might have months earlier, he walked to the china cabinet. He returned with a small velvet box.
"This was my mother's,"
he said gruffly, setting it before Rachel.
"She always said it should go to her granddaughter."
With trembling fingers, Rachel opened the box to reveal a delicate gold necklace with a small emerald pendant, the same rich green as the dress she'd worn to begin this journey. "Dad," she whispered, words failing her.
"I don't understand all of this,"
he admitted, his voice unsteady.
"I may never fully understand, but you are my child, and
He paused, struggling.
I want you in my life."
It wasn't complete acceptance. It wasn't the enthusiastic embrace of her identity that Nadia had offered from the beginning. But it was an outstretched hand, an opening door. It was enough to build upon. Later that night, back in their apartment, Rachel stood at the living room window, the emerald pendant gleaming at her throat. "Penny for your thoughts?" Nadia asked, joining her with 2 mugs of tea. Rachel accepted the warm cup gratefully. "I was just thinking about how much can change in a year. Last October I was terrified and homeless. Now I have a name, a future, a chance at wholeness. And a sister who's ridiculously proud of you," Nadia added, bumping her shoulder affectionately. "That part hasn't changed." Rachel smiled. "You've always been my champion, even when we were kids." They stood in comfortable silence, watching lights flicker across the city below. Rachel thought about the journey ahead. Graduate school, continuing physical transition, building a life that reflected her true self. There would be challenges, setbacks, difficult days, but for the first time, those possibilities didn't terrify her. "Do you remember that first night?" Rachel asked, suddenly. "When you caught me with your turquoise blouse?" Nadia nodded. "You looked so scared, like you thought I might throw you out too." "I did," Rachel admitted. "I couldn't imagine anyone accepting that part of me." "And now?" Rachel touched the emerald pendant, a tangible symbol of the slow, imperfect process of being known. "Now I understand that acceptance isn't always immediate or perfect. Sometimes it's a journey people take together, step by step." The sisters remained by the window until their tea grew cold, bound by shared history and the promise of futures unfolding side by side. Outside, the city continued its rhythmic pulse, strangers passing, stories intersecting, lives transforming in ways both dramatic and subtle. For Rachel, standing in the growing night with her sister's steady presence beside her, one truth emerged with crystalline clarity. Becoming herself had always been the only path forward. Everything else, the pain, the loss, the rediscovery, was simply part of finding her way home.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!